thank you for coming. I am Carolyn Bradley, and I work for FSU Research Development, also known as RD. This webinar is called Finding Funding 101, and it's designed as a primer in how researchers from all disciplines at FSU can locate funding opportunities to support their research goals. We have a broad range of people in attendance here, from faculty to staff to postdocs to grad students. I welcome all of you. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will ultimately be shared on my team's on-demand learning page and YouTube page. I ask everyone to keep themselves muted during the presentation. Feel free to post questions or comments in the chat as we go. If I don't see your message right away, I will check from time to time, and I will respond to questions as I see them or at the end of the session. Okay, so for this webinar, the agenda is I'm going to start by giving an overview of what the research development team does, just because we're specifically here to help faculty identify funding opportunities. Then I'll show you around RD's website so you can get acquainted with some of the resources and services we have. Then I'm going to spend most of the webinar providing a demonstration of Pivot, FSU's most powerful discovery tool for finding funding. Pivot is a large database compiling funding opportunities. Currently, there are more than 28,000 funding opportunities, offering more than $118 billion total on the site.
Oh my God.
Pivot also houses scholarly profiles to help researchers identify collaborators from other institutions. Currently, more than 3 million scholars have profiles up on Pivot, and if you don't have a profile up yet, I'm going to try to help you get one up today. So as I said, I work for RD. I'm the team's Arts and Humanities Research Development Coordinator. We have like a cohort of research development coordinators, one for Arts and Humanities, one for Social Sciences, one for Health and Life Sciences, and we're getting one for STEM. Now, some disciplines aren't necessarily covered in those categories, but we help all faculty, so we just have certain people that specialize in certain areas. So I have my PhD in English literature. So when I'm showing you around Pivot today, I'm going to show you how I would search for funding for my specific research interests. That was like late 20th, early 21st century experimental fiction and poetry in both English and Spanish. But prior to coming to FSU, I was working at the University of Florida's Southern HIV and Alcohol Research Consortium Center. So I'm also going to show you how I could search for public health research grants to support investigations related to HIV and alcoholism. Okay. So RD is a subunit of the FSU Office of Research, and it's designed as a resource for faculty seeking grant support. Our mission is to strengthen research competitiveness. To this end, we are devoted to equipping researchers for success, building connections, investing in promising new ideas in researchers, and promoting a culture which helps research to flourish. So we're really for faculty. I know, yes, we do have a website. I'm going to show the website. I do want to provide the websites that graduate students, okay, so graduate students really will get the best help at the Office of Graduate Fellowships and Awards, and I just put the link there for it, so like ogfa.fsu.edu. Okay, thank you. I know I'm not sharing anything. I appreciate that. I will be sharing the website in a second. I have a PowerPoint, but I'm just going to send y'all the PowerPoint after. I just realized it's just too much going on and it's just going to confuse y'all. So we're just going to leave the PowerPoint for later. I'll just send that to y'all. Okay, so the Office of Postdoctoral Affairs is for postdocs, obviously. I'm putting that in the chat. Okay, so research development provides a broad range of services to help FSU faculty obtain grants and fellowships. Very briefly, we offer professional development workshops like this one-on-one consultations with faculty to help them plan their funding search, extensive proposal development services, internal funding support through the Council of Research and Creativity, the CRC, and assistance in forming and nurturing research collaborations across campus. Okay. All right, I'm supposed to check that certain people are here for attendance reasons for them to get their certificates. So let me see, let me make sure that is the case. Okay. Okay, so Okay, so to kick off this webinar, I just want to begin by pointing out that finding the right funding opportunity for your project obviously can be challenging. You'll need to begin your funding search well before you want to actually begin your project. And the proposal development process and then the agency's review and selection process, you want to factor all that in terms of like your timeline. So that's going to take some time. So before you start, you'll want to ask yourself 2 fundamental questions that will guide your search. The first is, who cares about your study or its outcomes? And who else in the scholarly universe is conducting similar research? I'll put those in the chat, those questions. After clarifying the answer to those questions, you should be able to start thinking about which funding agencies or sponsors would seem most likely to fund your research. You will find a range of different types of sponsors, from federal agencies, international agencies, nonprofit organizations, including private foundations hosting philanthropic grants, and corporate sponsors, so for-profit entities. You might want to start building relationships with other scholars conducting research, or at the very least begin learning about these scholars and their work and where they have received funding from their work in the past. Okay, I'm going to take you to my team's website now. Okay, so this is the Office of Research website. So you want to go to, we're a unit of that. So you want to go here to the research offices. We're the first one, research development. And in order to start looking for money, go down to the piggy bank, finding funding. So this is like a good starting point for any funding search. You see we have a lot of different options here, things that get you to think about. I do recommend you sign up for in the research development subscription portal. So we have 2 things going on here. We have the grant writing and research development newsletter. Now that's a resource we pay for from a private company called Academic Research Funding Strategies. And it just gives a lot of tips on creating effective grant proposals. It also teaches you a lot about certain agencies' expectations. And then the Research Development Digest is something the research development puts out, and that comes out quarterly. And that is a really great resource too. So if you want to receive these, just sign up for our portal. Okay. To go back, the Council on Research and Creativity internal funding, I'm sure y'all are aware of this option. This is, the CRC has internal funding programs. It just changed. It used to have 8 proposal-based internal programs. Now I think it has 6. And then there are 4 honorary programs. So the idea with these is that it's like the university is offering like basically seed grants so that faculty can obtain pilot data or make other preliminary accomplishments that they can leverage to obtain external funding grants. So for example, in the arts and the humanities field, sometimes people might be using that, like they need a little opportunity to get something else, like a larger exhibition for a work or something. Programs are offered either once or twice a year, depending on their program. You can visit their website for more information. Okay, and then this website, FSU Internal Funding Sources, this is just a range of different funding opportunities that are available outside of the CRC on campus, like for instance, the Office of the Provost Travel Grant. So you'll want to check these out. Okay, then if you're in the humanities, this page is just for you. If you're in the arts, this page is just for you. Okay, the limited submissions opportunities. This is a web tracker for all funding opportunities which are marked as limited submissions programs. So a limited submissions program is one where the sponsor only allows an organization to submit a limited number of proposals. So for instance, FSU, or when you read the NOFO, it might say organizations are limited to 2 proposals. So that would mean that we would have to, everyone who's interested in that program would need to let me know ahead of a certain internal deadline I set. And then depending on if let's say there's 2 slots, if we have more than 2 faculty members interested in that, then we'll have to run an internal competition to see who are the strongest pre-applicants, and we'll let those people take the 2 slots. I run limited submissions, so if you ever have any questions, if you are confused about this process, you can always just email me, and that information is there. Oh, I used the word NOFO, and I just want to clarify upfront, like when I say NOFO, I'm referring to notice of funding opportunity. You've probably heard other words like RFP, FOA, RFA, solicitation. It all means the same thing. My understanding is that the federal agencies are all trying to consolidate with the single term NOFO at the moment. So that's what I'll be using for this workshop. Okay. Okay, finally, I just want to draw your attention to one last thing, the funding bulletin. It's here. And then it's also at the bottom of every web page on the research development side. It's here, the funding bulletin. So the funding bulletin, this is a resource highlighting funding opportunities with upcoming deadlines. And you can see we have 5 tables going. So the limited submissions, so all limited submissions opportunities within the next few months are listed here. And you can see we have the internal deadline. That's when you need to let us know. So for instance, you know, this one, you need to let us know by November 28th that you're interested in this program. And then the actual, if you get the slot, the actual agency deadline is February 20th. Okay. Arts and humanities, social sciences, health, science, technology, other and multidisciplinary. So any grant that is multidisciplinary will go here. So whatever your discipline is, focus on that, and then also check other and multidisciplinary and check limited submissions. This is a live document. We're continually updating it. I definitely recommend you check it at least once a month. We try to make it look particularly nice on the 15th of every month. So if you want to check it like every month on the 15th, just to see if there's anything interesting to you, I think that's a good idea. Okay, so that's really kind of what I wanted to show you with our website. Remember, you go to the Office of Research, go to Research Development, go to the piggy bank, and then you can find all of these things here. Okay, and you can see at the top of this page is a lot of information about Pivot and how we're really stressing get on Pivot because we love Pivot and we know it's the best way for you to find funding because in Pivot, you can make a search specific to your research field. So we're going to talk about Pivot now. Okay, so okay. So what is Pivot? Like I said, Pivot is a web-based discovery tool compiling funding opportunities for all disciplines and project types. These funding opportunities are from federal, private, and international sponsors. On top of compiling funding opportunities, Pivot also compiles scholarly profiles to help potential collaborators find one another. FSU pays for a subscription to Pivot, and it's available to anyone with an FSU email address, including students. So I'm going to start by describing how to create an account for those who don't have one yet. I can't show you how to do this from my screen because I already have an account, but let me just quickly explain. Okay, you're going to go to this link, pivot.proquest.com. I can put that in the chat. And you can follow along with me. If you get lost, the PowerPoint that I'm going to send you all is very detailed with all of these steps. So this isn't your only opportunity. Okay, so you go to pivotproquest.com and then create an account, click here, and then click use email address or create password. So you'll fill out the form, and then for your affiliated member institution, put FSU, and then you go to create my account. Okay, after you've done that, Pivot will send you a verification email with a link to confirm your account registration. Then you should be able to get back to the main page. And then log in to your account. So for me, okay, so this is my account. Okay, so Once you follow that process, you're in Pivot, and now what you want to do is claim your Pivot profile. Pivot's editorial team has already gone ahead and created profiles for all faculty members at FSU. So you will want to claim your profile in order to sync up your user account with a Pivot profile that they have already created. This will allow Pivot to automatically suggest funding opportunities that are targeted for your research. Other users will be able to find you as a potential collaborator on research projects, and you'll get relevant funding alerts by email. You can also claim a profile later by going into the user menu in the upper right and selecting claim profile. I actually don't see that. Oh, because I think it would say here instead of your profile. Okay. So when you do that, Pivot will display a screen called Select Your Profile. That screen will display a list of possible matching profiles based on your account information. If you see the correct profile, select This Is Me. If the email address on the profile you're claiming matches the email address on your Pivot user account, Pivot will send a confirmation email with a verification link. Once you've claimed your profile, you can edit your profile anytime by choosing the option in the upper right corner or by going to the Profile tab and then clicking your profile. Okay, if you can't find your profile, send me an email and I will speak to our Pivot contact and help straighten this out for you. Okay, so after you've gone through that, you've gotten the verification email, you go in and you try to claim your profile and try to sync it up. If you can't find one that looks right to you, or if there's an issue, maybe you had a Pivot account in another institution, just send me an email and we can straighten that out. Okay. So to begin looking for funding opportunities, you can conduct a range of quick searches. You can discover funding opportunities by just using this main search box, but you would be better off clicking the funding tab up here. The funding tab provides various ways to discover the most relevant opportunities for you. With search all fields here, you can simply enter your search terms, such as, okay, so I told you like before I was working at that research center for HIV and alcoholism, so I might put HIV, I might put alcoholism, or if I was looking for stuff about literature, I might put literature here. So, okay, I want to explain something. The Pivot search supports Boolean inquiries. So Boolean queries are a searching technique which includes 3 key operators: and, or, and not. An and operator narrows your search. So between 2 keywords, it searches for results containing both words. So an example would be HIV and alcoholism. Okay, so it narrows your search because it's only going to identify opportunities that have both of those options. A Boolean or operator widens your search. HIV or operator, or HIV or alcoholism. So an or operator will return any result that contains at least one of those search terms. And then a not operator excludes results. So this will only turn out one funding opportunities that have HIV but don't have alcoholism. Okay. Pivot also, apart from Boolean queries, Pivot also allows for phrase searching in quotes. So if you want to search for an entire phrase, American literature. If you want, it also permits proximity searching. So this is where you have like, if like maybe you don't, American literature doesn't necessarily need to be right together, but you need the general concept. You might do something like American with 5 literature. So the word American has to be within 5 words of the word literature. So that's a proximity searching. When you're ready, you will run the search. On the results page, note that the left-hand column has various criteria which you can use to further narrow your search. So let's say you're only interested in fellowships. You can see that there's 47. We turned up 177 results with that search. And let's say you're only interested in fellowships. So now you can just look at the 47 that are fellowships. You can look at ones that have only been released in the last 7 days. Okay, so you have these different options up here. All right, so let's go back to the search. Search by funder. Okay, if you know that you are only interested in funding opportunities from a specific funder, you can list them here. You could either do it here in all funders, or you could do it specific and more specific, like the US government, non-US government. If you're really not sure which funding agencies are good for your field, again, go back to those first two questions we asked. It's a good idea to learn about where other leaders in your field of research have received funding. You might begin by checking out their CVs and checking which agencies have offered them grant funding. So I like to do that. I like to look at, the scholars' CVs and say, oh, okay, these agencies have been helpful. All right, so search by keyword lets you search for terms that the pivot editors use to catalog funding opportunities. So pivot editors have developed like a bank of keywords to label different kinds of funding opportunities. That's all down here. You have these like larger, like health and medicine, social sciences, arts and humanities. You have the keyword, and then when you type a word in the search bar, it'll show you that what's there in the big one, and then it'll show you in the more limited, more restricted one, and in the more restricted one. So you can see, for instance, that let's look at health and medicine. Within health and medicine, if I were interested in the HIV stuff, I might go to disease, and then I might go to STD. Okay, so when you type a word here, let's say I do humanities, you're going to be prompted with an internal hierarchy, which you can use to narrow in on more specific needs, okay? In addition, the funding page, well, I kind of already showed you that. Okay, I'm gonna pivot to the most important tool here, the advanced search. So the advanced search is really what I focus on, because I think the advanced search, this is what we recommend you do, because this is the step to create a funding search specific to your research needs, and then you can set it up so that like you're getting a weekly email alert with new funding opportunities that are relevant for you. So you want to just set this up right for what you're looking for. Okay. So we start here. Okay. Pivot will search for opportunities that match all the text fields you're about to enter or any of the criteria. So you have all or any. Matching all is the default choice and produces a more targeted search with fewer results. Matching any produces a much broader search with more results. If you get confused, you can always click on this I here for information. So begin by setting your terms. So rows are really for analogous terms. So you might say it could be like HIV or STD, or, and to use a Boolean query, infectious and disease. So these are kind of like analogous terms. And then for the second row, we might say alcoholism, exact phrase search, alcohol use disorder, and then proximity search. Okay, so substance abuse, and then those words don't necessarily need to be right next to each other, but within the same general sentence or so. Okay. And then we have all of these criteria we can mark off. Okay, so funder, as you've seen, Pivot allows you to specify funding agencies you're interested in. We don't have to do that if we just are interested in any funding agency. Amount, let's say that we know our project is going to cost at least $1 million. We could say more than $1 million. And then if you want to include unspecified, you can. Let's say for deadlines, let's say we know that we need to, we're only interested in deadlines after December 1st. Okay, limited submission, we don't care if it's limited submission program, we'll just ignore that. Applicant institution location, so since we're gonna be applying on behalf of FSU, we can go ahead and put the applicant location is in United States and it's in Florida. Okay. And then we'll keep unrestricted sub-entities and super entities. We can even keep unspecified. Those are all workable. Activity location. If we know that the research needs to be conducted here in Florida, we can just go ahead and put that. And put US 2. Okay, citizenship. We'll ignore that one for this time. Funding type. We're not as concerned about keywords. Applicant type. Okay, if we're going to be applying on behalf of FSU as opposed to like being, an individual or something, I think we should go ahead and click academic institution here for the applicant type. For career stage, we can ignore that for now. Funder type. Again, I think that we're, for the search, we're open-minded. The country of the funder. Okay, and then recently added. Okay, and then this gray box down here is for all. So this is inclusion criteria, and then this is exclusion criteria, is anything we don't want. So let's exclude funding opportunities that are specifically for students. So graduate student pre-doc, just because I'm imagining that this is a professor applying and undergraduate student. So we'll exclude those. Okay, let's run this search and see how many funding opportunities show up. Okay, so we got 20 results. When you're looking at these results, there's a few different things you're going to want to think about. It's always good to just quickly check, okay, click this hourglass, and then just quickly check the eligibility. So this is available to higher education institutions, so we're good. And then check the deadline, and then really there's kind of three things you want to check. You want to check, are you going to be an eligible applicant if it's for higher education institution? Yes. Is the agency deadline workable for you? And is it a limited submissions opportunity? Because if it is, then you'll need to go through the portal like we talked about, or send me an email. Now, really, sometimes that information will be here. This one probably is not a limited submissions opportunity. That said, I really think that you need to like just any program that you're like kind of getting interested in, just go ahead and open the notice of funding opportunity, because sometimes Pivot makes mistakes. It's not really reliable. This is like Pivot's page, and it's not like 100% reliable. But those are kinds of the three things you want to think about before you spend, too much time like getting in the weeds of a program. Just identify those three things, because you'll be able to, you'll see a lot of them aren't workable. Okay, now for the record, if you are applying on behalf of FSU, I'm going to put this in the chat. FSU is, we have like, it's obviously an academic institution. It's we can say it's a 501c3 nonprofit organization, even though you'd have to go through the FSERF, the Research Foundation, for that. And then public state controlled institution. Okay, so when you're looking at the notice of funding opportunity and you go to the eligibility section, check to make sure, if you're hoping to apply on FSU, you need to make sure that at least one of those three categories. There may be some other categories that are workable. Those are the main ones that would indicate that FSU can apply. If you're interested and you just want to track it and kind of pay attention to it, then you can just put it here, and it'll be in your tracked opportunities. and I'll show you where that is. Sometimes you might want to track an opportunity because it's something that kind of looks interesting. You don't necessarily think you're going to apply right now, or maybe all the information isn't available yet, and you kind of want to keep tabs on it. Like maybe the deadline hasn't been released yet. Anyway, so you can kind of keep tabs on it. You can just track it. If you like this search, if you felt like this was a good search for you, and this was something that you want to be checking like once a week to see what new funding opportunities with those search criteria have become available, then it will make sense for you to save your search. So you save your search, choose a name for it. We can put and then make sure that this is checked. Would you like to receive a weekly email containing new or updated opportunities from this query? And so you say yes. And then every week on Sunday evening, you'll receive an email from Pivot with the new opportunities that have been released with that criteria. This was a more targeted search. We only got 20 results. You could refine it and make it much broader. And you could get a lot more opportunities. So we do recommend you have like one pretty targeted search going, like what are you really looking for, and then one much broader search going. So you could have both of those come to your email every week, and one you could label one, narrow search, one broad search. Okay, and so let me just show you where you can find this stuff. So you can, when you come home, under my funding opportunities, you can see tracked ops. So you can see that's the one I just tracked for y'all. And then you can see saved searches. And that's here. You'll also notice there's advisor. That's actually like Pivot is going to put ignore this. This is a lot of my stuff, but Pivot is going to put opportunities there that they think based on your scholarly profile that they think would be good for you. And then curated ops is these are actually lists put together by different personnel at FSU. So like mental health, September funding opportunities. So I think the big takeaways are for finding funding to go to RD's website, go to the finding funding page with the piggy bank, keep tabs on our funding bulletin, ideally checking once a month, probably on the 15th. Use Pivot and especially the advanced search feature to find funding opportunities, create both narrow and broad searches, and make sure that you save searches that you like and request weekly email alerts. Finally, please contact us at RD when you need help with grants research. We're here to help you. We're here to work one-on-one with faculty from every stage of the process, from identifying funding, getting a timeline going so that you can get applications in, helping you develop your proposals. It's what we do. So never hesitate to reach out to us. If you're in arts and humanities or actually education as well, you can email me at cbradley@fsu.edu. Otherwise, you can just email the general RD inbox, which is ord@fsu.edu. We used to be called the Office of Research Development. We changed that to just Research Development, but our email hasn't changed yet. And again, if you're a grad student, go to the Office of Graduate Fellowships and Awards. If you're a postdoc, go to the Office of Postdoctoral Affairs. So thank you so much for coming, and I wish you luck on your funding search. We have a lot of dreamers at FSU, and I hope you will all go out there and make your research dreams come true.